Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson had high praise for the Oklahoma Sooners defense.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation, and welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and thank you for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network in the industry. On today's show, we're going to talk about so many great things, the latest college football playoff rankings and what it means for the Oklahoma Sooners. Brent Venables teases some major injury updates. We'll also dive into this first, Jay. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire and USA Today Sports. Ty Simpson was asked about the Oklahoma Sooners defense. He said, what do they do so well? He says, everything. That's why they only give up 14 points a game, if we're being honest, right? This is by far the most well-coached, disruptive defense that we've seen. I love Ty Simpson for this.
He was just straight up with it. Like, it was like a matter of fact type deal. Yeah. Like, duh, they're good. Like, what do you want me to say? Suck at this so they can come after me? No, I'm not dumb, but no, I do love that the respect has been heavily reciprocated around the SEC this season about Oklahoma. Like, I've had so many people that I've talked to that's covered other teams, even others here in the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network in the world. They've said, like, hey, got to give it up to you guys. Your defense is legit. And it's just certain things you got to do to tweak. There's certain teams that you ain't got no choice but to give up yards to. But overall, y'all are terrifying. And it's impressive that Brent Venables was able to create that situation. So, John, when you look at this, Ty Simpson basically coming out there saying, like, I'm not going to give them bulletin board material. I'm not going to do this. Hell, I'm going to give them as much rat poison as possible, right? This is something that Nick Saban has taught us. Give them the rat poison. Let them feast on it. Don't you feast on it and slowly kill yourself. So I got to give it to Ty on this one. He hit us with the okie doke and went around and said, no. They're great at everything. They're very well coached and they're disciplined and disruptive. Please be the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. He's not entirely wrong. They lead the SEC in points per game allowed. They are number 4 in the SEC in completion percentage allowed. Number 4 in the SEC in passing yards allowed. They're tied for first in passing touchdowns allowed at 0.8 passing touchdowns allowed per game. They're second in the SEC in rushing yards allowed. They're second in the SEC in yards per carry. They are first in the SEC in rushing touchdowns allowed. They are first in the SEC in yards per play at 4.2 yards per play. They are about the only place where they're not great. Oh, sorry. One more thing. They're tied for first in the SEC in first downs allowed per game. But the only place where they're not good is the turnover department, which some of that is a matter of fortune. You got to have the ball come your way, and you've got to get the ball when it comes your way. And then, penalties. They don't actually get penalized as much as we like to think that they get penalized. They're first in the SEC in penalty yardage per game and penalties per game on the defensive side of the ball. So for all of the gnashing of teeth about penalties, defensively, Oklahoma, they're first in the SEC in defensive penalties. So, like, Ty Simpson's not wrong, but for the Oklahoma defense, real quick, Jay, they have to continue to prove it every single week, because if you don't, you're going to get lit up by this Alabama team.
Yeah, they're very good at just taking care of the ball and being efficient with the way the offense is ran. They don't have a lot of third and longs. They're a very third and short type team. And it's just consistently boom, 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 boom that we're seeing out of Ty Simpson. And we'll break that down on Friday's episode. Of course, we talk about it even more in depth on the crossover when we get with the Locked On Bama's crew to really dive into what they do and what they like, don't like, etc. But yeah, this defense has got to continue to prove itself. Now, this is the only thing that I would like to petition with the fan base out there, John. And also speak to the choir here, me and you as well, as we talk about this. I get that everyone feels that we have to keep proving ourselves over and over. We can also just believe that we're going to do it.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
It's okay. It's okay
100%.
to believe that your team has the capabilities. And like I said, speaking to myself, it's just everybody in general, because we're so used to coming in with the pessimistic mindset of, okay, well, I mean, we're going to just give it up on the blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And Tennessee, yeah, we gave up yards, but we didn't give up points. Go back to that. If we do what we're supposed to do on offense, as we know we're dealing with a young offensive coordinator that's learning, but if we did what we were supposed to, Tennessee doesn't score 27 points. They score 20.
Yep.
That's actually, they score less than that because they got the field goal and the touchdown. You eliminate a lot of that if you just, do what you're supposed to. Run the ball and just run the clock, especially at the end. You get the big run, just down it, let the clock burn, and then go. Like, there's so many situations that we could have avoided. I mean, they did 2 onside kicks. They probably shouldn't even had one of those if we just take care of the ball on the offensive side of the ball and take our time. But besides that, no, believing in this team is okay. I mean, Ty Simpson already believes in this defense, and it's awesome that the opposition is going to go in here and be realistic and say, nah, we ain't going to be stupid. Like I said, we're not going to give them bulletin board material. We got to believe that this offense can be in the same mind space when they go into it. Because there's one thing we got to remember too. Brent Venables is 4-1 off a bye week. Last year we played Bama, it was off a bye week.
Last year's team wasn't as good as this year's team. Last year's Alabama team, probably not as good as this year's Alabama team, but there's not a 21-point difference in the two things. Oklahoma is good enough to go win this football game. They've been good enough to win every football game. They kind of gave the Texas game away with some sloppy defense in the third quarter, with turnovers from your quarterback. They kind of gave that one away. Yeah. The Ole Miss one, they had a chance. They were in position to at least have a chance to tie the game late. John Mateer takes a throw to Isaiah Satania on 4th down instead of launching to Giovanni Gibson. Maybe that plays out a little bit differently. Who knows? You can't what if it. You had a chance. You've been good enough, except for the third quarter of the Texas game, to win every game this season. And that's kind of what you're hoping for. Now, you've got to continue to improve, but this team is absolutely good enough to go into Tuscaloosa and win a football game. Now, will they win the football game? That's a different story. But they have the ingredients. They've got a quarterback that's capable of being a big-time playmaker. You've got a running game that's getting better every single week, and I expect it to be good again this week against Alabama. You've got, veterans at wide receiver. You've got a young offensive line at 3 spots, but you've got veterans in Jake Michael and Fabechi Wiwu that have a lot of experience. You've got a really good defense, maybe the best defense in the country, all things considered. You have the opportunity. Play a good football game and you can go win this thing.
That's all it takes. Good, disciplined as much as possible football. Yep. The good thing for us is that Bama kind of has the same problem as us when it comes to getting calls in your favor. So we may actually see a moment where they actually officiate this one properly and both teams get called for holding and both teams gets called for the proper fouls that need to be called. It will be a surprise, but at the same time, you never know. When two good teams play against each other, it gets really weird for referees. You kind of feel bad for them because I can't use my biases like I want to on both. It can't be one or the other either. Now, there will be some home cooking because they are at home. They're in Tuscaloosa, so you will see a little bit of that. But I don't think that'll be a cause of us to lose the game. Again, do not let the referees dictate your success. You do that. So you do everything you need to. If you do what you're supposed to, even with ref interference, you should still be able to close out and win this game. But again, I'm going to continue to preach this all week. When I get my prediction on Thursday, my prediction on Friday, I've given 2 predictions already this week. John, I'm telling you, this game's going to be close. Yeah, I think it's going to be in the 20 range, early 20s, and I'm just going to stick to that because 45.5 is the over-under, I believe is the number right now. I could totally see it going to the under. Very close, but hitting the under.
Yeah, this one's going to come down to holding Alabama to some field goals. That's going to be a win defensively because they're going to move the ball. You just can't let them score touchdowns. If you let them score touchdowns on their drives, it's going to be hard to beat them. But if you can hold them to field goals here and there, get a missed field goal because they don't have a Tate Sandell, then you're going to have a chance. Brent Venables teased some injury updates. We'll discuss coming up here on Locked On Sooners. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. You need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in the universe. So, Jay, what do we got for injury updates from Brent Venables?
So Brent Venables after practice, and you got John Hoover over there, mentioned that he wrote up that Brent Venables said R. Mason Thomas and Kobie McKinzie did some things at practice, and then he stopped and he smiled. That's just rude. That is rude. That's disrespectful. That is just hateful. And I think he should be tried for a hate crime on that. But I digress. The good thing is that he did mention that those guys did do some things.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a very big plus because of how horrified we have been over, the last 2 weeks because of R. Mason getting hurt against Tennessee. I don't expect him to play. I expect him to be doubtful on the first initial injury report. And it probably sticks to doubtful the entire. They may have to have him doubtful the entire time.
Yeah,
they may not even ever move him to out, to be honest. But I don't see it. It just doesn't feel like with that injury, it appears it's not as serious. But I don't think that he'll be ready to come back, unfortunately. But Kobie McKinzie is a nice thought for next week
for Missouri.
Yes, we need somebody to stop the run.
Yeah.
Kobie McKinzie would be fantastic for that. Yep. Pass game, give me Heineke, give me Samuel Masigo, give me Kip. Go ahead and put Kendall Daniels right there and bring in Reggie Powers out there as your cheetah. Yeah, give me all of that. I need dudes to be able to chase their wide receivers.
Yeah.
Less than worry about the run because they don't run very well.
Yeah, I would love to have R. Mason Thomas back for this week. But if he's not 100%, don't force the issue. You've got to also make sure that you have him healthy for Missouri and LSU. You're going to need him whenever you can have him. If he's back, if he's 90 to 100%, then give it a go. See what happens. But just the way that play finished and the way that he could kind of barely get off the field, I'm not optimistic about it. But maybe somebody got the Mr. Miyagi hands and they went ahead and took care of business this week and got R. Mason Thomas back on the practice field. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't mind Coach V playing a little gamesmanship with this and trying to keep some things close to the chest. You've got to play the game a little bit and not let them have a whole lot of information. They're going to get the information anyway. So why do you give it to them a day early? But
right.
Regardless of R. Mason Thomas's availability, it's going to be up to Taylor Wine and Marvin Jones Jr. and PJ Adebaware and Danny Okoye stepping up and contributing in a big way. Ty Simpson, he's going to get the ball out fast. You're going to need your speed and athletic rushers to get up the field quick and put pressure on him. It's not going to be easy, but these guys are athletic. They're fierce. They're ferocious. And they've got the talent and ability to go make plays. Now's the opportunity to show that.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're hoping for. And you're hoping that the young guys can go out there and step up. It's that time. We're going up against The funny thing is, and of course, we'll break this down even more in detail this on Friday or whatnot, but we're not going against the most potent offense, right? Like they pass well, they do good. Like I think Simpson has had multiple games at 300 yards, but he hasn't had a whole bunch. Like he's like the teetering at 300.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's up there as one of the top quarterbacks as far as passing yards this season. I think Alabama is top 14th in the country, so they're averaging just about 290 yards per game in passing. But does that feel kind of low? It feels low to me.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know why. And even though that's up there in the SEC still, I mean, just in the country, it feels like the passing yards have been very hard to come by for everybody this year.
Yeah, it's a bit different, It seems like because parity a little bit, you don't have some of these offenses that would have just this plethora of talent throughout.
Right.
And maybe, when you have a run game that's not super effective like Alabama's, it does make throwing the football a little bit more challenging because teams can drop guys into coverage, which I expect Oklahoma to do. I expect them to try and win with their front 6 and 7 against the run and then drop 4 or 5 guys back into coverage to not allow Alabama to hit them over the top. And so I think some of it is a lot of these teams are good at one thing and not good at both things. It's hard to find a complete football team out there on the offensive side of the ball right now. Some are better than others at both. Some are just kind of like middle of the road at both, but there's not one team I feel like that's like elite throwing the ball and elite running the ball, especially in the SEC right now. It's just kind of, if you're, Tennessee, you're really good throwing the ball and okay running the ball. Georgia, they're kind of middle of the road both. Alabama's great throwing the ball, but not very good running the ball. Oklahoma's kind of middle of the road both. So it's hard to say, man, what we're going to get out of this. But again, it's up to this whole defense to really show out. And I want to throw a question at you because somebody asked this. I want to say it was on the YouTube side of things. If Derek Simmons is available, are you going with Ryan Foje still at right tackle?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Me 100%. Too. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. Mainly because you've got to see on that GT counter with Ryan Foje running at somebody's chest. It feels like he got Fabechi Wewu a little bit, amped up about running through somebody too. So yeah, no. You're playing Foje in this game, regardless. It's the way that he's played in the last couple of games. You take advantage of the fact that you're building a little momentum with your 2 freshman tackles and you go for it. Like I said, Susi has kind of struggled as it's continued, as people have gotten more tape on him, and that's okay. He's going to learn, but he's done a good enough job to not be awful.
Right.
Yeah, you continue with the Foje piece. Like, I mean, Derek Simmons is great as an emergency. There's going to be situations where, hey, Foje may get his helmet knocked off. It'd be great to be able to toss Simmons back out there and feel comfortable with it. But you let Simmons take his time, and you may want to leverage him later in the season. But as of now, no. Foje needs to get as many snaps as possible against as many high-end talent that they're going up against. That way he is battle-tested and ready to go for this push to try to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. To me, it's not even a hesitation. He's played well. Has he played perfect? No, but he's played well. And he's played like he hasn't killed you, if that makes sense. Like a lot of times you get a true freshman out there and they just get blown up, either blown off the ball or they just can't handle what's happening in front of them. He hasn't killed you that way. So continue to roll him out there. And the other part of it is, hey, you're going to get some procedural penalties, some false starts. It's going to happen from time to time. I felt like they played a pretty clean game on the road in Neyland Stadium. And I expect the same thing this week in Bryant-Denny. So excited about that. I think the other one I'm really curious about is Keontez Lewis. I hope that we get him back at some point this season because I think he has been the best of the other outside wide receiver aside from Deion Burks and Isaiah Satania. Like Keontez Lewis was the most consistent one that you had. Giovanni Gibson was kind of up and down. We haven't seen a lot of Jermichael Carter. Getting Keontez Lewis back might really kind of help some things in the offense.
Yeah, that would be awesome. It gives you that veteran presence at receiver, someone that's kind of a safety blanket.
Possession
that you've noticed.
Receiver, yeah.
Yeah, you've seen for like Mateer, he's really he really keyed in on Keontez outside of, well, Keontez has been just very consistent in making catches across the middle and making those grabs and even getting down, right?
Yep.
So I can totally see Mateer really leaning into him, because Giovanni was supposed to be that dude, but it doesn't look like he's all the way back fully to where he was before. So we're still waiting on him to get to that point. I don't want us to try to figure that out in this game. I don't, maybe against Missouri, maybe against LSU, but this one I kind of want the established dudes to go and show out. Now, granted, Giovanni could shut me up and go out there and have a massive monster game, and he's really hard to cover for Dejon Lee, the true freshman 6'5" corner they have. You may want to have him go up and muscle with him a bit, but I like the idea of Keontez. Now, Jermichael Carter could be that guy. He kind of showed us last game. I was like, okay, you can do your routes. You can clear people out and make it tough. So let's stick to that. But we have to see. Luckily, I do feel like we got like 5 or 6 dudes that now I feel comfortable with at wide receiver. We just need to execute.
Yeah, that's going to be the name of the game. College football playoff rankings came out on Tuesday night. Where does Oklahoma stand? What does it mean for the season? We'll discuss. Come up on Locked On Sooners.
The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the multiverse. So, Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners come in at number 11 in the latest college football playoff rankings, moving up 1 spot. That puts them as the first team out in the 12-team bracket, but still in a really good spot because, again, you went out, you're in the playoff, you're in the conversation. Even if you lose to Bama this week and beat Missouri and LSU, you're still in the playoff discussion. It may not be enough to get you in, but still, you got to like where you're at right now.
Yeah, there's an argument for the at-large at number 11. And depending on how close the Alabama game is, if you keep it really close, if it's a game-winning field goal by Bama, you may not drop very far. You may actually see yourself in a situation where they're like, no, we're very impressed with what Oklahoma has done. I mean, heck, the College Football Playoff Committee has actually mentioned that. I'll talk about that in a second as a post from George Stoya over there on 3. He talked about that. But right now, Oklahoma's sitting at number 11 in the CFP rankings for today. When you look at the teams around Oklahoma, from Texas, of course, is still up there at 10. You got, Notre Dame, which everyone's still trying to figure out how's Notre Dame up there. We get it. You lost to the Aggies, who's number 3, and you also lost to Miami, who's number 15. Oklahoma's losses, it's number 10, Texas, and number 7, Ole Miss. Maybe Oklahoma should be able to move around, especially with, some of the ranked wins they have. They beat the number 23 team in the country, so they have that as well. So, I kind of feel like, if I'm being honest, I really feel like you should probably move Texas to 9 and Oklahoma to 10 and put both of them into the playoffs today. But as of today, you're not going to see that type of, luck. Oklahoma wins against Bama. They're going to be, they should jump everybody up there but Ole Miss. They should probably move to number 8 if they win that game. And then Bama moves to 9, or actually they may move to 7 with everybody else moving up, depending on how Texas and Georgia goes. But you could put Bama at Oklahoma at Ole Miss at 6, Oklahoma 7, Bama at 8, and then leave the Irish where they are. That's what I think.
Or Pitt can just go beat Notre Dame and just rid us of the Irish altogether.
Well, that too. I don't know how I feel about that. Mainly because, should Pitt have been ranked?
I don't know about that, but I don't care. I just need Notre Dame out of the top 10.
Yeah, just keep winning, baby. That's all that matters.
I mean, let's be real. Like, other than USC, what have they done this year?
That's a good point. I forgot they did beat
their
USC,
wins.
so they do have a ranked win.
They have a close loss to Texas A&M. They have a close loss to Miami. Then they beat Purdue, Stinko, Arkansas, who ended up firing their coach. Arkansas had kind of quit. They beat Boise State. They beat NC State. They beat USC by 10 at home. And then they beat Boston College and Navy. Like, just not a lot of, to me, the schedule is not the same. You cannot convince me that a 10-2 Notre Dame team with that schedule is a better team or has a better resume than a 9-3 Oklahoma or a 9-3 Texas or a Vanderbilt. You just can't convince me of that. I'm sorry. You just can't.
Yeah, you can't convince me either. And that's where the struggle comes in for even a lot of us is trying to understand what we understand. Notre Dame is a brand, and Notre Dame is a good team. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're terrible. I just don't think that they should be ranked where they are because they don't have anything really to show us. Because, they've just been beaten up on middle of the road and bad teams. And
they're where they're at because of where they finished last season.
Oh, yeah. And that's very much true. And the love affair for Jeremiah Love, who is very good at running back, by the way. He's an excellent running back. I would like to see, them play more teams. That gives them there. So we'll find out against Pitt this weekend if they do. But at the same time, I wanted to point that out about George Stoy over there on 3.
I've got the full quote.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and pop that up.
Okay, so George Stoya asked the playoff committee chairman, Mac Rhodes, about Oklahoma. He said, I just wanted to ask you, what are the committee's thoughts on Oklahoma so far? And I specifically wanted to know, has there been any discussion about quarterback John Mateer and how he was playing before he hurt his hand in the Auburn game versus how he's played recently and especially in that Texas game? Mac Rhodes says, yes, thank you. So Oklahoma, we've got obviously great respect for them, ranked 11th, really good quality wins against number 18 Michigan, going to Tennessee, beating Tennessee. We've had conversation about quarterback John Mateer. Felt like he was playing at a really high level prior to the hand surgery. Obviously, the first game back, big game versus Texas. We, the committee, probably did not think he was at full strength, and it seems as the season has moved on, he's getting closer to that. Certainly have great respect for him as a quarterback and hope he continues to heal. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you, Mac. And I think this is probably how most people feel, is that he's not the same quarterback that he was prior to the hand injury. He's getting better as the season goes along, healthier as the season goes along, still not fully back, whether it's the hand or the knee. But Oklahoma as a team, I don't think they're going to be as penalized because of the Texas loss. One, it's a rival, and two, your starting quarterback was not quite himself.
Yeah, you could tell. He looked like it, and it looked like it was something, not sure what, but it was something, but it is what it is at this point. And
shout out to George from Sooner School. That was a great question.
Yeah, great job, George, on asking that and actually, saying, I want to know an answer on that. So We'll see if the committee continues to believe that, and depending on how Oklahoma performs in this game against Alabama, that really tells us everything you need to know. We'll figure out where Oklahoma really sits in their hearts after that game.
Well, and listen, we said it earlier in the week, Big 12, ACC, looking like one bid leagues. I had it right the first time. Sorry. One bid leagues. And this ranking reflects that. You have one Big 12 team in the bracket, one ACC team in the bracket, and that's it. So it looks like it has a chance to be very SEC heavy. I think as many as 5 teams could get in. The Big 10, you're looking at maybe 3 with Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, and that's about it. I don't buy Iowa. I don't buy anybody else out of that league being college football playoff worthy, but you could talk about Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, and then there's going to be a really strong conversation between Oklahoma, Texas, Vanderbilt. Now, some of this is going to play itself out, but there's going to be a really strong discussion about a 5th SEC team being in the playoff.
Whew, there's going to be a strong argument for a 6th if you really think about it, you know, because the way the schedule lines up, if Oklahoma pulls this off, I mean, it's a road game against a team that doesn't lose at home very often. So I'm saying pull it off for that particular reason. But Oklahoma pulls that off. You have Georgia that continues to steamroll and make their way up. Texas A&M continues to do the same. That leaves Bama there because Bama's going to continue to be ranked high enough. You'll have Ole Miss, who shouldn't move anywhere as long as they continue to win. The Florida game, not going to lie, still scares me because it's just the perfect spot for a Lane Kiffin situation.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, they continue to win out. They're in. That's your 5. And then if Vanderbilt wins the last game of the season, there's a very good chance they could continue to move themselves up to where they could be 6, 10, and 2 SEC teams. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that was possible, but it is.
Insert the Morgan Freeman good luck gif there, because I don't know how you sift through all that. And really, the thing I think that keeps the SEC from getting 6 teams is Notre Dame, because I feel like you're pretty well locked into 3 Big Ten teams. Now, Michigan could create some controversy there if they beat Ohio State at the end of the year. That could be the 4th Big Ten team, which would probably keep the SEC at just 4 teams unless Notre Dame gets upset this week against Pitt. But yeah, the ACC, the Big 12, sorry, you're kind of looking like just one bid leagues there. And it's going to be really fascinating, the end of the season for the SEC, who ends up putting themselves in that conversation, in the discussion to be one of those top 12 teams.
To me, the only way the Big 12 finds a way to backdoor their way into this is that Tech loses to BYU in the conference championship game.
Yeah, because then you run into a situation like TCU and Baylor did years ago. Was it TCU Baylor? Yeah, TCU Baylor did years ago where, hey, we're not going to choose a team as the conference champion. They'll be co-champions. And then, that time both got left out. This time the committee would be like, okay, we respect BYU and Texas Tech and their body of work this year. Both get it. So
yeah, because that will give Tech their 2nd loss, but they'll be at 11 wins. So, because they'll go in, probably most likely going 11-1, play that game. If they lose, be 11-2. BYU will move up to 11-1 as well, right? So it would be one of those where it'd be tough to exclude them. And the question from there is, it'll be between, if Ohio State and Indiana both maintain what they're doing, they're both going to end up probably with no losses, and they'll play in the Big Ten championship. But as you mentioned, if Michigan does what they've done the last 5 years and beat Ohio State's still going to play in the Big Ten championship game against Indiana. If they beat Indiana, then you're right back to that same scenario. It's going to be a wild potential setup, because then Texas A&M is going to play Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then who wins that? Basically, truth be told, there's a chance that Notre Dame just gets completely booted out of it because of how all these teams are flying in there. They may end up getting knocked. If Oklahoma pulls the upset, they should jump Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And that will make Notre Dame kind of fall back a little bit. BYU pulls off the win. It kind of makes them jump too, to where the G5 and the ACC snatches the last 2 spots. That could be Notre Dame. I don't know. There's a lot of squirreliness that has to happen first, but I'm looking at this. I'm like, dang, this could be bananas.
Well, I mean, Notre Dame has Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford left, and none of that really moves the needle for me. I don't care.
That disappointed me this year. They've embarrassed me 2 years in a row.
Well, and here's one thing that's really fun, and I think maybe is a discussion for after the season, but it really feels like 12 is the perfect number of teams for the college football playoff. There's just enough debate over teams 13 through 16, but not so much that you're like, yeah, we got to get those teams in the playoff. And it keeps all of these games way more meaningful than what they would have been before. Like Oklahoma at 7-2 was out of the discussion in the 14 playoff, but they've got so much more to play for with these final 3 games because of the 12-team playoff. So it creates so much more meaningful football in November.
You actually care even more about it at the end now, John, just because, like you said, this does make it, because we're not only chasing the teams that could play in the national championship, the 1 to 2 teams. We're chasing who's going to make their conference championship. And now we're chasing, because even though before, the one thing that did help with keeping a lot of people engaged was the chase for the conference championship. But now it extends past that into the playoffs, because making a conference championship only guarantees you make the playoffs. But you want to also make the playoffs on top of that. So it does make you watch multiple games in comparison because so many implications are there.
Well, and when they got rid of divisions, it kind of took that away a little bit too, because if you had, 2 losses in conference and you have you were in a division, say your losses were on the other side, you still had a chance, or you had a non-conference loss and a conference loss, you still had a chance to make the conference championship. Yeah. Well, in a non-division format, it's a lot more difficult to get there if you have a couple of conference losses. So I don't know. I liked the division format. It's just cleaner to me, but it's the new world order. We're going to get some fun scheduling from the SEC because of it.
I want pods. Give me 14 pods for everybody.
Nah.
I like pods.
I don't know. I don't love it. But, because we were going to end up with like Texas A&M and Missouri or something like that. And I'm like, we've seen them. It's fine. I like that we're playing Ole Miss every year.
You're you're in the minority for that, but yes, I totally understand. I actually I appreciate going new places too. So yeah. I am in that as well, but also I appreciate the idea of having drivable places for fans. Yes. I think about the students more so than anything with that, but yes, I also enjoy going new places.
When Arkansas is on the schedule, that's going to be lit. That's an hour and a half for me. Fayetteville is an hour and a half.
Imagine
I can get there right now before midnight.
It's true. Imagine Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and Texas all in one little pod.
That'd be super.
Right.
That'd be too fun. All right. Well, we've kind of gone a little bit long on pod talk and schedule talk, but it's fun. We're having fun. It's a great week. It's going to be a great weekend of football action with a big game between Oklahoma and Alabama as the icing on the cake. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Sooners wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner.